camp, but then I didn't work out. But went to the XFL, and it looked like it was becoming a league of its own. Like, that's a heck of a journey for a guy who, like, statistically, all the stuff he's been through shouldn't be here, but he is. And he took a chance on himself, especially with the whole, like, imagine if Lamar Jackson's recruiting you to come play with him in college, and you say no, you go to Cal. Like, that's crazy. Like, imagine what that would have done just for his profile. But he's like, nah, I'm betting on myself. I'm gonna go to Cal. It's a much harder university, and I'm gonna get a degree from there. And he gets a degree from there. Goes off to Kansas. Kansas isn't the best football team, but they're on the up and coming now. And then you find your own niche in the XFL. Like, that's really dope. And I always love to hear stories like that. Like I said,
so it's so unfortunate the XFL is so uncertain.
Yeah,
because there's guys like that who can play, who have something to give to the game and who want to give it to the game, and unfortunately, as it's set up right now, there's not really a platform for them unless they're willing to go to Canada. But even what he was
Canada's
talking about,
not for everybody.
Exactly, and even what he was talking about, it's a different game. The XFL to the NFL, and it's a different game from the CFL to the NFL, vice versa. But yeah, man. So with that, we got to move to some of the NFL stuff that happened this past week. The biggest one, starting off with, I would say, is probably the onside kick thing we've been talking about for the past few weeks. Basically, what the rule entailed was, instead of doing onside kicks, teams would get a 4th and 15 from their own 25, and they could use that twice a game, not in overtime. That rule is actually tabled for now, but one rule that was approved was a change to the IR designation. So now teams can essentially designate a player a 4 injured reserve, and they can come back. Instead of only 2 players being able to come back once they're on IR, you will now be able to have 3. So yes, Raiders fans, that means you can have 3 hurt safeties.
That's more of a gunshot. There you go.
Yes, Seahawks and Chicago Bears, you can have 3 tight ends on your IR.
Seattle's more running backs. Chicago's definitely 27 tight ends on IR.
Chargers, you can have 3 kickers now.
The Patriots can have 4 quarterbacks.
No, I was saying like 4 white receivers that we never heard of, but
don't they already have that?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But yeah, man, so essentially now teams get to give us an extra bit of false hope when they say a player has a chance to return when really he probably shouldn't or probably won't. But yeah, they can use that IR designation. So shout out to them. Other shit that went down this week, Madden via EA Sports agreed to an extension with the NFL, an exclusive deal expected to go up to 2026 and worth $1.5 billion. I read somewhere the breakdown is basically $1 million to the league and $500 million to the players. So, what do you think about it, KB? First,
I mean, their deal was going to be up in 2021, so it's good for video game culture.
I guess, man. I just feel like it's just going to be that much easier for Madden to keep packing it in and not really do anything different or innovative. And really, I was saying this in the Raiders group chat, but it's pretty much the same thing with 2K and NBA. Like, they really haven't done anything super different in 3 or 4 years. It's like, I get it. These games are both really great and probably better than anything we could have imagined. But at the same time, these two video game companies should be going head to head in both genres and let the people decide. But then again, you'll get more NBA lives. So,
ouch. But I mean, there always could be an ESPN NFL 2K with TO on the front, Legends Edition.
we'll see.
That game was fire. Okay, what's this?
Other big topic that happened this week. We talked about it off the air before, but George Floyd, the man who was slain in broad daylight by the police, basically had his foot on his neck.
He had his knee on the base of his neck and his throat, pretty much choking to death. He murdered him in broad daylight in front of everyone.
Yeah, and there's been all sorts of protests, riots,
uprisings,
whatever you want to call it, happening over in Minnesota, and the Vikings essentially issued a statement about the whole ordeal. I have it right here. Their official statement said, quote, "We are deeply saddened by the loss of life that occurred Monday evening just blocks from our stadium. Everyone in our community deserves the right to feel protected and safe. Our thoughts are with the George Floyd family and all individuals who have been affected by this tragedy. And I think important context to note is up until like last year, the Vikings were like one of two teams with like a black vice president. So
didn't he become like?
I think he's with the NCAA or
Big Ten now.
Yeah, he's with one of the commissions.
Michigan or something like that. But also Minnesota University vowed that they wouldn't use any more of those police officers. But also apparently they're having a problem because like they don't want to pay the current security staff and students and the whole situation. But they said they're not going to use those police officers anymore. So there's that.
Other topical instance this week, Devonta Freeman, after turning down a deal with the Seattle Seahawks, is currently weighing offers from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, it's that time of the offseason where we're talking about running backs who barely had like 500 rushing yards and essentially lost their starting job and got cut.
Fantasy football dud. Total fantasy football dud. Drafted him in the first round a couple years ago. Still mad about it.
Me too, but I think if you would have drafted him his rookie year, you probably made a lot of money.
Yeah, that was why I drafted him in the first round. After that.
Other updates related to COVID. The NFL is expected to extend the virtual offseason another couple weeks. They expect the coaches to be allowed at the facilities like early next week. And then from there, they're expected to have mini camps in June. And for now, at least, the NFL is preparing to go on with the schedule as usual. To be determined if that actually happens, but that's the game plan now, at least. With that, man, it's time for Take or Tangent. Let's see how long it takes me to find it. Still like half the time as you.
Nah. Gonna give you like maybe like 2 seconds.
All right, man. So DeAndre Hopkins said other receivers know he's the best receiver in the league. Do you got to take or tangent on Nook saying he's the best receiver in the league and people know it?
He's definitely top 3 and he's not 3. I still think Julio's the best because it's not his fault they lost the Super Bowl. It's not his fault the Falcons suck. Julio didn't choke. Julio should have like 187 touchdowns for his career. But he has like so few because Matt Ryan can't get him the ball in the end zone.
Bro, out of all the places you can go in your career as a top flight number 1 receiver,
he went to Houston.
He went to Houston and Arizona, the 2 places where receivers go to die in irrelevance.
That's not true. Steve Preston had a 1,000-yard receiving year when they went to the Super Bowl. And Anquan Boldin, Larry Fitzgerald. What are you talking about?
You just brought up Steve Preston right now.
I sure did.
And what did he do after that? He was eating off that one season for a cool like 3 years, bouncing around camps.
He totally was.
Yeah, he was.
Didn't matter though.
My point is though, as a number 1 receiver, someone who's basically already been overlooked just because he's been in Houston. The second worst place he could have went is probably Arizona.
Nah, Buffalo.
In terms of building his profile.
Buffalo.
Okay, fine. He went to the 3rd out of 3. My bad.
Miami too.
Miami is at least like a big ass market, and
the Jets.
You'll get on the scene with
Jets.
That. Still,
no.
Still won by the Jets.
Name the last still great Jets receiver. Name the last great Jets receiver.
Wayne Corbett.
You couldn't even say Lavernius
Coles.
Lavernius Coles. You couldn't say Santana Moss. You couldn't have said, I don't know.
Not Santonio Holmes.
Ouch. Braylon
Not
Edwards.
Terrell Pryor.
Ouch. Damn.
But yeah, man, there's a lot of places where receivers go to bust, but I just feel
the
bad
Jets
because
is one of them.
I would have liked to see Hopkins in a big market and get the respect that he deserves. But yeah, man, I mean,
he said Thomas knows Michael Thomas and Julio Jones know I'm the best receiver. He said,
I mean, he's kind of like a blend between the two.
He's
so.
right. No, he ran a 4.57. Julio Jones.
But that's what I'm saying.
4.3.
That's what I'm saying is he's not quite as dink and dunk as Michael Thomas. Like he can do more than that, but he's also
they're in the same 40 time.
He's much. Also not the same explosive athlete phenom that Julio Jones is.
He's quicker and more explosive than Michael Thomas.
That's what I'm saying. He's a middle ground between the two.
Yeah, and not only that, I would say, the Raiders passed on him that year for DJ Hayden. But anyway, I'm sick to my stomach now. He also said, if you gave me Drew Brees for my whole career, do you honestly think I wouldn't put up better numbers? And he's right. And that's why I think like Michael Thomas is an elite slot receiver.
The other thing I'm going to say about this whole situation,
I don't think Michael Thomas will be as good in Houston.
I just don't want to hear all this right now, and then when we get to play, Kyler Murray's the problem, because Kyler Murray wasn't the problem now. You're excited to play with him. You're excited to be in Arizona. So if the Cardinals season doesn't go out the way it's supposed to be, I want to hear it all blamed on the shoulders of a second-year quarterback. That's all I want to say on that.
That's true. But also don't be giving Larry Fitzgerald 70 passes to catch. You're a tight end at this point, bro. If it's Madden, I'm putting Larry Fitzgerald at tight
Especially
end.
with their tight end room. Their tight end room was trash.
I don't even know who their tight ends are.
What? I think it was Gresham last year?
I know who everyone's tight ends are. I have no idea.
Leonard Pope?
He been out the league.
No, I'm just kidding. But he was on the Cardinals for a minute, and people didn't even know.
Wasn't Caleb Wilson on the Cardinals?
Sounds like.
UCLA
sounds right.
4.5? Sounds
right.
He's Mr. Relevant? Yeah, I think he is. Okay, so there's that. But, I mean, they might be able to trade for O.J. Howard. Get him to Arizona.
Jadeveon Clowney reportedly turned out a monster one-year deal from the Cleveland Browns. They're one of the teams with the most cap left. You got to take a tangent on Clowney not securing the bag.
I would have taken a huge one-year payday. It probably would have been a multi-year deal, but I would take a fat payday to go to Cleveland. Guess who's on the other side of you? Myles Garrett, arguably the best defensive end in football.
I feel what you're saying.
I would put Clowney at left defensive end.
I agree with it in concept.
Just to beat right tackles all day.
I agree with it in theory, but at the end of the day, LeBron is from Cleveland and left Cleveland. So I really got no issue with anybody else wanting to leave Cleveland or not go to Cleveland because, well, it's Cleveland. Sorry, Cleveland, but you know it's true.
That was hurtful and offensive.
Okay, but you attack Detroit literally every other day.
Because there's too many people who live here from Detroit who won't go back home. Oh, wait, because your ass is broke here, too. Let's talk about it. You may have gotten, famous here, but you ain't going back to Detroit. Because we know what's waiting there back for you, don't you? Don't we? Yeah.
Okay.
Never letting that shit go.
Really subliminal? But
never letting that shit go.
Okay.
You gonna tell us we don't work hard enough in LA. Nigga, I got 17 jobs.
All right. JT Daniels, He's reportedly transferring to Georgia. You got to take your attention on that.
I tweeted this out earlier. I said JT Daniels is a cautionary tale